Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and I just got the NECA 12-inch long Godzilla King of the Monsters figure. It just arrived. I had pre-ordered this, like a lot of people, and I have to admit, I'm just a little bit apprehensive, because a lot of the people who have been posting pictures of their pre-orders have noted some issues, most commonly fish eyes, but also occasional sloppy paint jobs or two left feet. So I don't know what this is going to look like. There's a little flap here to open and see what it looks like. I haven't done that yet. I know what it's supposed to look like thanks to images like this and a bunch of others on NECA's website, but we're about to find out whether or not this figure is of some sort of quality in 3, 2, 1. Well, doesn't look too bad, but I'll get this out of the box and we will see for certain just how it actually is. Alright, so having gotten it out and put it together, because the very end of the tail is separated, as is often the case with these figures, how does it look? Well, it doesn't have the two left feet. Paint job seems to be good, and as far as the eyes go, let's see if the camera focuses. You can sort of see that there is a bit of an odd paint job when it comes to the eyes here. They don't quite match up when you look at it from either side. But I mean, I was expecting far worse, I have to say. This, if I wanted to, I could probably touch it up easily if I wanted. Don't know if I will, but either way, not as bad as I was expecting it to be. As far as the overall quality of the figure, well, it's definitely got that detail that you expect from NECA. It's pretty good, actually. Looks pretty much like what we've seen in the trailers. Seems to be this joint right here, the hip joint. There's a very obvious gap between these spines, and try as I might, I cannot get it to close, so that's not very good in terms of overall quality, but what else? The other figure kind of has that same issue. I think it's more obvious here because the spines are so much bigger. Overall detail appears to be about what you'd expect. Having a hard time getting the feet to stand properly. That's a little better. Let's see. Just at a cursory glance, as far as having it just stand there, it's not bad in terms of detail. So now the question is, what about articulation? So the box says there are 25 points of articulation. That would be the jaw, the head, the neck, both shoulders, both elbows, both wrists, both legs, both knees, both feet, and a whole bunch of them all along the tail, even at the end. You can see here there's actually quite a bit of articulation going all the way down to this very tip right here. So not actually a bendable wire like with other Godzillas. So interesting touch right there. As far as how they move, well, they're about what you'd expect. The jaw is kind of stiff, not really, yeah, you gotta work it a little bit as opposed to the 2014 figure, but it works. The neck joint actually is almost kind of pointless. I'm fidgeting with it right now because of the way it's designed with two flaps overlaying right here. I cannot get it to move for love or money. But the head can turn easily enough. Not very far, but it still can turn. Legs are about what you'd expect. Knees rotate. The tail, like I said, is very, very flexible. Here, if I turn it like this, you can see the different points of articulation all along it. Not many Godzilla figures have that. As I'm continuing to fidget around with it, I can't seem to make this seam become fused, I guess you would say. It doesn't... It's not like I can angle the leg in such a way that makes this seam disappear. The joint is still obvious, but there's detailing within it, so it still creates the illusion that there is a continuous pattern of skin across the whole thing. So, well, that about does it for articulation, I suppose. And while we're at it, we may as well compare it to the 2014 figure that I've got here. And right off the bat, I notice it looks like he's hunched forward a little more, the 2019 version. I think that's unusual. I don't know, seems a lot of it has to do with this hip joint right here. But even with it pulled all the way back, still looks like he's leaning forward a bit more compared to the 2014. And like I said, the leg joints, well, hang on. If I... So I can sort of make the seam decrease a little on this side at least, but I don't know. We can also see some of the other differences, being that the 2014 figure has a much darker paint job, but at the same time, not as many painted details. You can see on the 2019 figure, they took time to do some highlights, paint specific parts of the scale texturing, do details on the spines, whereas the 2014 figure is more or less a solid color throughout, with only hints of airbrushing on things like the belly and difference in paint, like with the teeth or the tongue. Overall, I would say it doesn't look like they really went with the exact same mold. I think some of us may have actually been expecting they would just rehash the mold, but in fact, it does look like there are differences, so I think we can say they went with a completely new mold for this. Which, you know, kudos to them for going that extra mile. Though, again, I have to say, it doesn't seem like it's quite up to par with the 2014 figure. The gap that I mentioned on this one also kind of exists here, but it's easier to hide, as you can see. Not so easy with this guy. That is unfortunate. And, let's see, they're about the same length, actually. Same overall length. The tails are just very different. 2014 has the wire tail that eventually just ends in freeform silicone right here, whereas 2019's tail is rounder and has joints in it. But otherwise, well, those are the major differences, and you can also see, as we line them up, the differences in the feet, whereas 2014 has the little elephant feet there. These feet on 2019 are a bit more pronounced. But, and of course, 2014 doesn't have the weird paint job with the eyes. Though, like I said, on this one at least, it's not as noticeable. So overall thoughts on this figure? Well, it's not bad, but it's also not quite what I've come to expect from NECA. So it makes some improvements in a few places, like the joints in the tail, or... well, that really, I think that's just about it. Otherwise, it is pretty much the exact same figure. But the articulation and the way the mold comes together feels a little weird. Maybe I just need to mess with it a bit more to get it to look exactly right. But I'm not disappointed with this, not by any means. I don't necessarily know if it's the best Godzilla figure ever made. Hopefully they'll make a few improvements with the blue supercharged looking version that'll be coming out later. And hopefully Mothra and Rodan will be free of any sort of major issues. But, well, I guess this is not quite what I was expecting. It could have been a lot worse based on what I've seen from other people posting. But, meh, it's an okay figure. Not one of the best, but definitely not one of the worst. At least it doesn't have 2 left feet or 2 right hands or sloppy paint aside from the oddness of the eyes. But I feel like the eyes would actually just be nitpicking, if I'm being perfectly honest. Well, anyway, that's 1 NECA figure down and 3 more to go. 4 depending on what that mystery figure is, but we have no clue what it'll be at this point or when it'll even be announced. But that's just my assessment of the figure I got. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.